I want to take just a moment, and there's a thing on your program called Ramblings with Russ. And I did, I'll be on. I did this last time, and I just want to share just a couple things that I'm thinking about. Last time we talked about the power of community. And today I want to talk about this idea of, whoops, there we go. It's an idea of moments. There's a book that a friend of mine actually gave me recently. It's called The Power of Moments. Did you read it yet, Barry? I gave it to you, but you haven't read it. I finally read it. I had an experience with Barry and Melissa and gave them the book, and I finally got another copy of it by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. It's an incredible book that just talks about, and the tagline says, why certain experiences have extraordinary impact. It's a great read. I'm going to give you the Russ Klein 3-minute version of this story. But it's a great idea. A defining moment is a short experience that is both memorable and meaningful. When I read this book, I kept thinking about our Barnabas community. I kept thinking about moments that we've been able to experience. My wife and I have been a part of Barnabas about 10 years, and how many moments there have been, just really unique opportunities with people, things that were memorable. So I wanted to challenge you with this. The book goes on to define what those moments would be like. It's moments of elevation, defining moments that rise above the everyday. Some of us gathered recently for a paella dinner a couple of weeks ago. That was a moment that rose above the everyday, right? Incredible food, incredible community, incredible location, moments of elevation, things that redefine the everyday. Another word they use to define it is insight. Defining moments rewire our understanding of ourselves or our world. I don't know about you, but when you learn something new, doesn't that sometimes just sear itself in your brain and in your heart? It's a moment of enlightenment. You might have been enlightened today by our presenters already. Something that just challenged you, something that's opened your eyes in a new way. Another way is a moment of pride. Defining moments capture us at our best, moments of achievement, moments of courage. Think of people graduating or people celebrating an anniversary. They're moments that we remember, that we stop and we celebrate. And then the last one is moments of connection. Defining moments are so social, and they spark emotion. They spark emotion. I know for me, when some of you, I don't know all of you, but when some of you walked in the room today, something inside of me just came alive, because I go back to moments where we've shared a meal, or we've gone on a trip, or we've done some work with an organization, or we've gotten to know each other over coffee. They spark that emotion. That's what a moment is. You know, Jesus was a master at moments. Remember this moment in Mark when Jesus is teaching, and the guys cut a hole in the roof, and they drop the paralyzed guy, and they drop right to Jesus' feet. And Jesus then stops what he's doing. He forgives the guy's sins. He heals them, and he gets up and walks out. Talk about a moment, right? A moment. People talked about that forever. Probably the guy who complained about his roof talked about it forever, but it was a moment. Think about the image of Jesus when he knelt before his disciples and washed their feet. Talk about counterculture. This is the master, and he knelt down and washed his disciples' feet as a sign of, I'm going to serve you. I love you. Talk about an image, right? Think that was a moment? They were actually angry about that moment, but it was a moment. Think about this image of, I love this story of Jesus. He's in the parade. He's walking into this town, and he stops the parade. And he looks at Zacchaeus, who's hanging out in a tree, and Jesus says, you know what? I'm going to stop what I'm doing. Zacchaeus, I'm going to go and hang out with you today. I'm going to your house. And later on, we hear that Zacchaeus changed his whole life. He said, look, now I have changed. I'm going to pay back everyone I've stolen from. I'm going to give to the poor. He changed his life. And then the story of Jesus walking on the water. What a moment when Peter climbed over the boat, when he was invited to walk on the water. And often we look at this as a sign of, oh, Peter, you doubted, you took your eyes off of Jesus. But the moment wasn't that. The moment was Peter walked on the water with Jesus. And these other guys sat in the boat and watched this take place. Talk about a moment in time. Think about moments in your life. Things that have marked you, things that have shaped you. I have a couple. I climbed a mountain years ago. This is a big mountain that I looked at every day. We lived in South America, and I said, I'm going to climb that mountain. That was a stupid thing to say, but I did climb it. And I found a good friend of mine who drugged me up that mountain, and we stood on top about 19,000 feet. and I gasped for air, and I got off, and I said, I'll never do that again. But it was a moment in my life. I was thankful to be done with that. This is a picture. Sorry, Rod, it is my son, but a picture. My son's here tonight, but we were riding motorcycles in South Africa after his college graduation. He's already laughing because we had some moments on that trip where, it rained for 5 days straight. We rode these bikes. We went to this game park. It was just a crazy experience, but there was moment after moment after moment that we'll always have together on this trip. And then, obviously this moment, this is my bride. We just celebrated 36 years of marriage, but the moment in Glendora, California, when we said, I do, that's a moment, right? Isn't that a great picture? It was the 80s, all right? It was a moment. Barnabas, we create moments. Tonight, Austin, you said it perfectly when you set the stage tonight of, we come in this room and our desire is that God would speak to you. And all of us come in here from a different background, different story, different reason, yet we're all here. And God has a plan tonight to use something to happen here to create a moment in your life. That moment in our Barnabas community when you learn about something happening that you've never heard about before. And you're like, wow, I never knew. I need to go do some more work on that. I need to do some more research. I'm going to learn more about that. That moment when you meet someone who inspires you or challenges you or brings you into a significant conversation, it's going to change your life. The reason Johnny is here is because I sat in a car with him on a side road in Tajikistan out in the middle of nowhere, and for the first time in my life, I understood the power of prayer. It changed me. It was a moment I will have forever. What conversations have you had in this room that have changed you? You hear about an opportunity or a need that you're uniquely gifted to respond to. You've already heard some invitations. At Barnabas, what we do is we try to say, use what you have. Use the skills you already have. Use your experience. Bring that to the table. And you've heard 2 ministry presentations say, we need you. And you might be sitting here today and say, wow, there's something I can do. There's something I can offer. There's something I can use. I don't have to separate my profession from my faith. It goes together. And I can use my skills to help an organization. Or you feel prompted by God to change something, to do something, to take a risk, to engage. Think of moments of conviction in your life when God talks to you and you're like, oh, I don't want to pay attention to that, but he wants you to hear him. Think about the moment that God called to you and you answered. What was that moment like? The first time you actually really heard him and you answered. At Barnabas Group, it's our desire, in our community, it's our desire that none of us miss or waste these God-ordained moments. I'm not sure we create these moments, but we ask God to come, and we ask him to show up. He's the one that brings those to us. I have a bench in Dana Point outside the harbor, and that's a place that I often go and I can hear and listen and see things clearly. Some of you know that bench. I'm going to challenge you tonight just to open your eyes and don't miss another moment. That's really what this community is all about. Lord, speak to us. Show us how you can use us to be a part of what you're already doing all over the world. Bring us into that.